From all indications, there were multiple shooters who fired dozens of shots, perhaps more than 50.
America, while Brandon Johnson was busy attending anti-ICE protests and signing executive orders to investigate federal agents, multiple shooters fired over 50 bullets at a car on Chicago's South Side in broad daylight. A 26-year-old mother was killed.
More than 50 shots were fired. We are told that there was a baby in the backseat of the victim's vehicle who fortunately was not hurt.
Where's the outrage? Where's Brandon Johnson holding a press conference demanding justice for this baby?
At least 2 people shot by ICE and Border Patrol agents.
He's too busy protecting illegal immigrants from ICE to care about actual Chicago residents getting murdered in the streets. What is up, guys? Tyson DELACRUZ here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Today, we're exposing the most backwards priorities in American politics, how Brandon Johnson cares more about illegal immigrants than Chicago citizens, why protesters only show up when ICE does their job, but stay silent when babies dodge 50 bullets, and what happens when you elect an elementary school teacher to run a major city. Let me walk you through what happened on Chicago's South Side at 1:30 in the afternoon, broad daylight, because this is the reality Brandon Johnson refused to acknowledge. Gabrielle, a 26-year-old, was driving her white Chevy sedan with her boyfriend and 13-month-old baby daughter in the back seat. They were near 79th and May Street when multiple shooters opened up fire. This wasn't a random shooting. This wasn't a stray bullet. This was a coordinated attack by multiple gunmen who fired over 50 rounds at the car with a baby inside. The evidence marker covered the entire street like confetti at a parade, except this wasn't a celebration. This was an execution attempt.
What's the purpose of shooting at a car when you know there's a child in the car? That doesn't make any sense.
Listen to the Godfather's reaction. What is the purpose of shooting at the car when there's a child in the car? That's the question every Chicago resident is asking. But Brandon Johnson isn't answering because he's too busy investigating ICE agents.
Police say a 26-year-old woman and a 27-year-old man were inside a white Chevy sedan when they were hit by gunfire. They then crashed their vehicle into a GMC van.
The woman was shot multiple times and died at the hospital. Her boyfriend was shot in the buttocks and the arm, but survived. And that baby, that 13-month-old, sat in the back seat while 50 bullets flew around her and walked away without a scratch. That is not luck. That is a absolute miracle. And the only reason why we're not talking about a dead baby is because God decided those bullets wouldn't hit her.
It's a miracle that that baby was not shot. It's a miracle.
St. Sabina Church is around the block from where the gunfire erupted.
Even the church members who came out to help said it was a miracle because in Brandon Johnson's Chicago, babies surviving gun shootings is considered a miracle instead of an outrage. Now, let me ask the question that nobody in Chicago leadership wants to answer. Where are the protests? When ICE arrests illegal immigrants who entered the country illegally, Brandon Johnson holds a press conference. Protesters flood the street. The media covers it 24/7. Johnson signs executive orders to investigate federal agents. But when a 26-year-old mother gets murdered in broad daylight while her baby sits in the back seat, silence, absolute silence. No protests, no press conference, no executive orders, no BLM, nothing.
Hours earlier, 2 deadly shootings less than a mile apart. One, a woman found shot and killed inside a hospital parking garage.
And it's just not one shooting. On the same day, there were 2 more deadly shootings in less than a mile apart on the west side. A woman found shot and killed inside a hospital parking lot. 2 men were killed in an SUV at a White Castle parking lot after multiple gunmen opened up fire so many times the vehicle caught on fire. 3 separate shootings, multiple victims. And Brandon Johnson's response? He's too busy signing executive orders to investigate ICE agents who are doing their job.
The city of Chicago must respond with accountability and transparency. The ICE unnoticed executive order is a step towards justice.
Listen to his language. Chicago must respond with accountability and transparency. He's demanding accountability for federal agents for doing their job. But where's the accountability for gang members who fired 50 plus bullets at a car with a baby in the back seat? Here's what this tells you. Brandon Mohawk Johnson and his protesters care more about illegal immigrants than they do about Chicago citizens. When ICE arrests somebody who broke federal law, that is a crisis in their mind. When gang members murder a mother in front of their baby, that's considered another Tuesday in Chicago. Now, let me show you just how backwards Brandon Mohawk Johnson's priorities are, because this isn't just about one shooting. This is a pattern of protecting criminals while law-abiding citizens suffer.
If the federal government will not hold these rogue actors accountable, then Chicago will do everything in our power to bring these agents to justice.
Johnson is vowing to prosecute federal agents for doing immigration enforcement, but he won't prosecute or investigate gang members terrorizing his city. He calls ICE rogue actors, but he won't use this same language to the shooters who fired 50 bullets in broad daylight. And it gets worse. Johnson's executive order requires Chicago's police to investigate and document any alleged misconduct by ICE agents. So if ICE arrests an illegal immigrant and that person claims that they were treated unfairly, Chicago PD has to investigate. But when multiple shooters fire bullets at a car in broad daylight, killing a bunch of people, Chicago PD is on their own. No special executive orders, no mayor demanding accountability, just another case file in a city drowning in violence.
What we are looking to do is to continue to work with all stakeholders so that we can meet the expectations of the people of Chicago who are justifiably demanding accountability.
What people, Brandon Mohawk? What people? Because the people of Chicago who just watched a mother get murdered in front of their baby are demanding accountability for gang violence, not ICE enforcement. But it's apparent that Johnson doesn't care about those people. He cares about activists and protesters who show up when ICE does their job. He cares about the illegal immigrants who vote Democrat. Now, let me tell you why this is happening, because Brandon Mohawk Johnson's failures aren't just about bad priorities. They're about incompetence at a level that honestly would be incredibly funny if it wasn't getting people killed. Brandon Johnson was an elementary school teacher before he became a mayor, an elementary school teacher. He has zero experience running a business, zero experience managing a budget, zero experience in law enforcement. And obviously it shows.
Chicago City Council passed a budget that closes a $1 billion gap. But a new study by the watchdog group Truth in Accounting says the actual deficit is a wee bit higher than $1 billion, $41 billion.
Chicago's budget deficit isn't $1 billion like Johnson claims. It's $41 billion, according to the Truth in Accounting. $41 billion. That's not a rounding error. That's a 40 times difference. Johnson is either lying or he's too stupid to understand basic accounting.
The pensions, they're so underfunded. This is clearly showing the city is not saving up. They're only putting 25 cents per every dollar promised into the pension fund.
That means city workers who were promised retirement benefits are going to get pennies on the dollar. And Johnson's solution? Ignore it. Ignore it, guys. Focus on ICE. This is what happens when you elect an elementary school teacher to run a major city. He doesn't understand budgets. He doesn't understand law enforcement. He just knows how to pander to activists and protesters. And that's the problem. Johnson still thinks like a teacher and a union activist. He thinks the solution to every problem is more protests and more executive orders. He doesn't understand that governing requires making hard choices and protecting citizens, even when it's not popular to activists. This is happening in every Democrat-run city in America. Mayors care more about illegal immigrants than citizens. Prosecutors care more about criminals than victim rights. Police are told to stand down when gangs run wild. And when citizens complain, They're called racist.
And so many shots were fired. That SUV caught fire. 2 men died. A third was shot in the back and rushed to Stroger Hospital.
And Brandon Johnson's response? He's investigating ICE agents, guys.
The politics of this volatile situation have cast a shadow over every decision that we're all making right now. It's impossible to ignore that, and I do think the mayor made his announcement and crafted that executive order for largely political reasons.
Even Chicago aldermen are admitting Johnson's executive order is political theater and building his progressive credentials for a future run at a potential higher office. America, a 13-month-old baby survived 50-plus bullets in broad daylight because multiple shooters decided to execute her mother while she sat in the back seat. That baby is alive by a miracle, not by good governance. And while that baby was dodging bullets, Brandon Johnson was attending anti-ICE protests and signing executive orders to investigate federal agents. He's demanding accountability for ICE for doing their job while ignoring the gang members who terrorize his city. Where are the protests? Where's the outrage? Where's the executive order demanding justice for 3 separate shootings that happened in one day? That's right. They don't exist because Brandon Johnson and his activists only care about illegal immigrants, not Chicago citizens. This is what happens when you elect an elementary school teacher with a $41 billion budget deficit that he can't explain. And his priorities are so backwards, he investigates cops instead of criminals. Chicago residents deserve better. But as long as Democrats run that city, citizens will keep dodging bullets while their mayor protects people who shouldn't even be here in the first place. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comments section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.